So you need to have one completed motif to start with. So we're calling this motif A, and for the purpose of this tutorial I've numbered or lettered these motif B, motif C and motif D, so that's the order in which I'm going to join them. So obviously join as you go, where we're joining in the last round, in the last round of each motif. It's quite a modular type of join, so once you know how to do it you can kind of add blocks anywhere really. And the only difference really being these kind of shared corners and what happens in those corners. So we'll start off with one block completely made up to and including round 5, and then your other blocks will need to be made up to round 4, up to and including round 4, so that you've only got the last round left to do. So I'm actually going to start on block B, and I'm going to start in this corner. So generally when we do join as you go, you try and do as much as possible of the motif before you join. So obviously I'm going to start here, I'm going to work all the way up here and along here, and then when I come to this third corner I'm going to start joining it and also then join it all the way along this edge until I get to this corner. Then I'll come back round here and obviously no joining there, and I'll finish the block. So I recommend doing this on a flat surface so that it's easier. It's much easier to do on a flat surface rather than having everything, you know, hanging off your lap or something. So make sure you obviously are familiar with the motif, because I'm not going to be going in too much depth about how we do round 5. I'm only going to be really talking about the joins. So I'm joining in the space at the tip of the petal, chain 1. I'm going to flip the tail over just to trap it in a bit, single crochet, and then I'm going to do 3 chains for the first corner, and at the same time I'm trapping in my tail, which you don't have to do, but nowadays I'm always doing this because it saves a little bit sewing in, especially on these lacy motifs where it's tricky to find places to sew in. So I've done a chain 3 and then single crochet straight back into that same tip of that little petal. So I've got single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, next up chain 2, and then into the middle stitch out of this sequence of 5. So it'd be sometimes it's easier to count because these are weird half double things, so you're sort of aiming in the middle, 1 2 3, so it'll be the 3rd stitch from either side. There's a single in there, then we got another chain 2, and then in this middle stitch here, which was a single crochet, from round 4 we're going to be putting what I call a kind of open shell. So we do a double, which is a UK treble, chain 1, then straight back into the same stitch we're doing another double, chain 1, and then another double. Obviously I go into much more detail in this in the main pattern for this block. Chain 2, and middle of this section here, which is this stitch, chain 2, and a corner sequence in this space at the tip of the petal, which is single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, and then working back around this side, chain 2, middle of this section, which is 1 2 3. I find it easier to count from that side, 1 2 chains, open shell, double, chain 1, double, chain 1, double, chain 2, 1 2 into the 3rd one, chain 2. Okay, so this next corner, if we have a look at this in relation to this block where we want to join, we're going to be joining in this corner. So now we have to pay attention, because we're going to do single crochet, chain 1, and then joining into any of these corners. Really it doesn't matter because obviously this is a symmetrical block. Most important thing is don't start doing anything weird like crocheting up, putting the hook up from the wrong side of the fabric. This is the most common mistake I see. As soon as people start joining blocks, they start doing some really random things. The hook is always going, so this is the right side of the fabric, it's going from the right side through to the wrong side of the fabric, okay? And then you're going to slip stitch. So just grabbing the yarn, pulling it through. Then you're going to chain 1. And then you're going to single crochet straight back into that same space in that petal. I think I've accidentally caught a bit of the mohair there. It's actually been a long time since I made these blocks, so I'm kind of refamiliarizing myself as well. So obviously if we orientate it back to where we were, so don't be afraid to move these around. Don't try and crochet in some really weird awkward way that's, you know, going to make you double back your wrist or something, which is something I've also seen. So I've joined halfway through that corner. So if you remember, a corner sequence is single crochet, chain 3, single crochet. So what I've done is single crochet, chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, single crochet. So it's always all about symmetry, these joins. Okay, next bit along here, so we're going to do chain 2 and single crochet into the middle stitch, chain 2. So now we are ready to do the next join, which is at this open shell section. So we're always going to be joining after every single double crochet, and we're going to be drop loop joining into the corresponding double crochet on the adjoining motif. Okay, so into this single you're going to double, and then a drop loop join is removing the loop from the hook, going from right side through to the wrong side of this first double here, popping the loop back on the hook and pulling it through the stitch. So we're not actually making a stitch, we're literally just transferring the live loop so that it pops up from that adjacent double crochet. Chain 1, and then your second double crochet of the open shell, another drop loop join. Make sure you're always working from the right side of the fabric here. What I see most commonly, because I teach joining techniques as workshops, I notice people hold the work like this and they come through from the wrong side of the work and then wonder why it's not lying flat. Just because we're joining with crochet doesn't mean we start changing the rules of this motif. So the rules of this motif are we're always working from the right side through to the wrong side. Okay, so drop loop join here. So this is the second double, my hook's going through there. I'm putting the live loop back on and transferring it, pulling it through that double crochet, and then chain 1. So I'm still keeping the sequence of the pattern, then my next double, and then another drop loop join. So then there's my third double there, pop that on the hook, pop the hook through there from the right side through to the wrong side, put the live loop back on and pull it through. Then carrying on in pattern, which is chain 2, finding the middle stitch of this sequence here, which is, I think it's 1, 2, 3, this one, single crochet, chain 2. So let's just see where we're at here. So you can see that as I've gone round and made this last round, I've kept to the pattern sequence, and then I've joined in the corner and at this open shell section. So next up we've got another corner join. So the shell, the open shell join is always drop loop joins, and the corners are always slip stitch joins, just because slip stitch joins are much more stable, and we're going to be working into them again when we join subsequent motifs. So in this corner we're going to single, then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch from the right side. So we're not doing any of this business where you've folded the two together. Remember, this has to stay flat, and I know I keep banging on about it, but as I said, I've taught this class so many times for joining, and that is the biggest mistake people make, is joining from the wrong side of the work. So I'll just do that again because I was busy yapping as usual. slip stitch join in this corner from the right side, chain 1, single crochet back into that block, and then I'm just finishing this motif off as per the pattern, which you should be pretty familiar with by now. Middle stitch 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and join with a slip stitch into this first single. Okay, so I mean, obviously remember you're going to be washing and blocking anything you make anyway, and with the natural fibres like cotton and that, this will really open up. If you're using acrylic, unfortunately you won't get anywhere near as good result, which is one of the reasons why I don't recommend using plastic yarns for crochet motifs that are lacy like this. So that's motif A, that's motif B joined now. I'm going to join motif C next. So obviously not that big a difference. The only difference is that so we'll start in this corner up here, which you can't see because I need to zoom out. We'll start in this corner up here. We'll crochet round and pattern until this corner. Then this is just a corner join as you've just done twice there. It's exactly the same thing. Join this open shell just as you've done for this one. And then this corner, the only difference is that you're joining it into the slip stitch join of the previous round. So what you can do if you like is stitch markers, locking stitch markers are your friend for this. This is another thing that I see people struggling with, is these corner joins and the corners looking messy because they start joining in all kinds of random places. So my technique that I've devised is that we are always working back into the very first slip stitch that was ever made in this corner. It's on a bend, okay? So unfortunately the top of the stitch is actually on the inside here, which no sane person is ever going to try and work into. So instead what we do is we brush the top of the stitch over to the right so that we're just left with the legs of the slip stitch. So can you see we've got the legs of the slip stitch there. This only works on a bend, on a join on a bend. And this is block A and this is block B, so obviously you have to have them the right way around, otherwise you won't be able to see it properly. So I'm kind of rubbing the stitch to the right so that I can see the legs, because that's where we're going to be joining into. So my recommendation is, if it's the first time you've ever done my way of joining, is to put a locking stitch marker through there from right through to left. So you've clearly now got the legs of that slip stitch marked, so that as you come around to join, there's no questioning where you're meant to be going. Anyway, let's go ahead. I'm not going to film this first bit of me doing this bit of the block, because obviously you are familiar with the pattern. I'm going to do the first two corners and the first two sides, and when I'm at the third corner I'm going to show you the join. So I've done as I said I was going to do. Let's have a look where we're at. I'm just ready now to join this corner, join this side and join this corner, which is already, as we've already discussed, already got a join there. So let's do this corner join. Single crochet, chain 1, joining in this corner, and again move this bit around to make sure that you're always coming through from the right side of the fabric. Hook through that way, not this way, okay? I've done a terrible job of sewing in that end, but anyway, don't look at that. Slip stitch join in that corner, chain 1, single crochet black into block C, chain 2, single crochet into the middle stitch of this section on block C, chain 2, and now we are going to be doing our open shell stitch join. So we've done the first double, find the correct double crochet on this block A, first double here, so live loop comes off, hook goes from right side through to the wrong side on block A, loop goes back on, tighten it up to make sure it engages before you try pulling it through, chain 1, next double, another drop loop join in the next double on block A, pull through, chain 1, double in C, drop loop join in block A, chain 2, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the middle of this mohair section of block C, chain 2, single crochet into the tip of the petal there, and then we'll just have a quick look before resuming. That is bad. I need to sort that out. I don't know, I think it's just because I knew I was filming this, I was in a bit of a rush to sew in the ends so that they didn't make the video look messy, but usually I wouldn't sew in those ends until I've finished, so I obviously didn't do a very good job there. So have a look where we're at here. I'm ready to join this corner into an existing join. So again, we do half the corner, which is chain 1, and now we're working into this slip stitch. So I've marked it nicely so I can see the legs of my slip stitch. So I'm always coming, these slip stitches that are on a corner bend, where we work into the legs, we're always coming, again, the fabric's facing up the right way, so we're not doing any of this business from the wrong side. I know I keep saying that, but it's why so many people do it wrong and wonder why nothing lies flat. We're coming from the right hand side, so this is the right hand side, and the needle is poking through to the left hand side of the legs of that slip stitch, and then I'm slip stitching into that. Then I'm doing a chain 1, then I'm doing a single crochet straight back into the tip of that petal, and I've accidentally caught a bit of mohair there. So now it's looking like that. I can actually take that out now. Once you've put another stitch in there, it becomes quite easy to see. So when I come to join the next block, I'll be joining it straight back in that first slip stitch again. So you can leave the stitch marker in there if you like, but I just wanted to show you how that's looking really neat. Okay, rest of this side, you know how it goes. Chain 2 single, chain 2 open shell. So I do have instructions for the continuous method of this join, which I haven't actually filmed, and not entirely sure when I'll get a chance to do it, but this is obviously the easiest way to join, although not the most efficient in terms of yarn usage or time, but for most people this will be fine, depending on how many you're joining. So there we are, that's block C joined in. Let's join in block D. Open shell. Not even sure if I've called this an open shell in the pattern, because as I said, it's been about more than a year since I worked on this motif. It's actually, this has just been prompted by an email I got from someone asking about the join, so I thought I would do it quickly. So obviously here I'm now ready to join. So again, half a corner, which is chain 1, rotate this round so that I'm in the right spot, always working from the right side of the fabric through to the wrong side, keep everything flat, slip stitch, chain 1, single crochet, chain 2, a single into middle of the mohair bit, chain 2, and then an open shell with a drop loop join. So remove the loop, find the first corresponding double. Yikes, that's why I need to pull that open. This is why I prefer continuous, because you haven't got all these tails. Drop loop join, chain 1, double, drop loop join in the corresponding block, chain 1, double, drop loop join in the last double from block C, chain 2, single in the middle of the mohair bit, chain 2, single crochet into the tip of the petal, and now again obviously we've got another join. So I know this is upside down now compared to the original plan, but so again half a corner, which is chain 1. Then we have a little look here. You should be able to see a little ring of that very first slip stitch that you worked into, so you're going straight back into that slip stitch with another slip stitch join, chain 1 for the other half of the corner, other side of the corner, and single crochet. So we'll have a little look at that. Join in the middle there is looking really nice. So now we're just going to carry on in pattern, which is chain 2 and single, chain 2, and then we've got another join joining this block D onto block B at this oops, I forgot to do the join at the double crochet open shell. So I've got drop loop join, remove from right side through to wrong side, pop the loop back on the hook, pull it through, chain 1, another double, another drop loop join, chain 1, another double, drop loop join into the next double on that block B, chain 2, single in the middle of the mohairy bit, chain 2, and then we're doing a corner join again, chain single crochet, chain 1, and slip stitch into the corner of this block again, always right side through to wrong side, slip stitch join, chain 1, single crochet back into the chain 2 space. So put it up the way it is, you know, no, hang on, confusing myself now. A, B, C, D. When I do the photo tutorials, obviously as well, those will have the letters on. Okay, let's just finish off this side now, and then we're done. 1, 2, single, 1, 2, open shell, one, two, single, 1, 2, slip stitch join into the first single, cut the yarn, yarn over, pull through to fasten off. Okay, so there we are. That obviously needs washing and blocking, but hopefully that gives you everything you need to know about joining these blocks. So once you know how to make a square like this, that more or less covers every possibility you're going to have. So joining one block on one side, joining another block to a shared corner, and then joining another block to two sides with a shared corner as well. So that should give you everything you need.